So here we have the 2019 higher. This is paper 2 and we're focusing on question 9 in this video. Now question 9 looks at functions and their inverses and also domains and ranges of these functions. So first thing we have to remember is what a domain and a range is. Now a domain is the values of x for which the function is valid. So if we look at the question here, the domain of f is 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 1,000. That means the domain, i.e. where this function exists, is for every value of x between 1 and 1,000. The range is then the set of answers that we get for that. So the range is the set of answers that exist for each of the values in those domains. Now what we want to do to begin with in this question is it's asking us to find the inverse function, and then it wants us to state the domain of that inverse function. Firstly, we have to get onto this part here and we have to figure out how to get the inverse. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. Preferred method for myself is take the original function and rewrite it as y equals. So I rewrite it as y equals x cubed plus 8. Then swap the x and the y. So I'd quite simply write that x is equal to the cube root of y plus 8. Now what I've got to do is rearrange this so that I get back to y equals. So x is equal to cube root of y plus 8. So I can then say fine. So I know that the cube root of y is equal to x minus 8. So I know that y is equal to x minus 8 cubed. What I then have to do is tell everybody what I've found here. Now I've got written here y is equal to this, but the question wants the inverse f minus 1 of x. So this is a key point here. You have to make sure at this final step here you communicate it clearly and write that it's f minus 1 of x. You have to write that it is the inverse. F minus 1 of x is equal to 8 minus x cubed. So that there is the inverse of the original function. Second part of the question is looking at the domain of the inverse. Now, for the domain of the inverse, what we can actually do is find the range of the original function and then take that and make it the domain of our inverse function. So if I look and I say find so the range of f of x, so when x is equal to 1, so that's the lowest part of our domain, I get f of 1 is equal to 9, and if x is equal to 1,000, f of 1,000 is equal to 18. So that there is the range of my function. Now when I find the inverse, that means that this range then becomes the domain of that function. So I can then say is therefore the domain of the inverse f minus 1 of x is 9 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 18 for all real numbers x belonging to the group of numbers R. So there we go. That's me found the domain of the inverse function. Question like this is fairly straightforward if we've got some good algebra skills behind us. Fairly common as well that comes up, and it's worth a few marks. So this one here is worth 4 in total. Part A is worth 3 marks. So for part A, for the method we've followed here, get 1 mark for rechanging it. So I've got x equals cube root of y plus 8 and then making my first step. I then get my second mark for getting to this stage here, that y equals 8 minus x cubed, but my final mark is only awarded when I rewrite it as the inverse f minus 1 of x is equal to x minus 8. We have to make sure we have that written in. If we don't, we do not get that final mark. So make sure that you do that. Then the last question, part B, this is only worth a single mark, and that's just quite simply for getting that. If you did the range at the start here as part of a bit of working up the top and then just literally wrote it down here, you'd be perfectly fine as well. But you only get the mark for stating the domain. Now, if you missed off the x belongs to the set of real numbers here, they're not going to penalise you for that in the mark scheme. The key thing is to get this range of values here, 9 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 18, as your domain, and get that part correct. So there you go. Working with functions and inverses and domains and ranges. Very common topic to come up, very common thing that we have to be able to do, and very straightforward. Just make sure you go and you practice your algebra skills.